Shalom. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Ruach Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations to you brothers who's pushing this truth in the four corners of highways and byways. The hopefully elect. Again, all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Ruach So brother Yashimar here, with another video. I really hope it's not too windy. I trust that you brothers could hear my voice, but nevertheless, there's this saying about the Hebrew Israelites, Salakia, the Hebrew Israelite being a cult. All right, and really and truly, the ones who actually say that, they don't understand what this thing is, because they say the Black Hebrew Israelite movement. All right, which, and if you say the Black Hebrew Israelite movement, it is you are nullifying the fact that even the Spanish and the Latin tribes, the native, they are not Israelites. All right, which goes to show they are surely not edifying, or they understand, or neither do they understand what it is. And nevertheless, looking up this word cult, all right, in the etymol online, basically the etymology dictionary, etymol means the study of words, etymology, the study of words. All right, it says the original history of cult. It says cult on the noun. It says 1610. It says the worship, homage, right? Worship or homage, right? And what do we worship? We worship Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Understand? But to worship Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, right? We do so by the last statutes and commandment, basically the covenant, all right, which was given unto Israel, as it says in Psalms. You should, let me get it. Let me get it. I'm gonna get back to this Isaiah 5:20. Let me get it. Psalms. All right. Psalms. Salakia. Mine is storming for the past couple of days, but yeah, let me get this. Psalms 147 and verse 19. It says here, he sheweth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgment unto Israel. He hath not dealt so with any nation, and as for his judgment, they have not known them. Praise ye Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. Alright, so clearly the nation, they have not known, or they understand what is this thing of ours, I would say. You understand? They don't know. And also, these nations were the one who had us in captivity, who basically changed over the whole educational system with regards to the Israelites, who we are as a people, where we're from, you understand? And even change our last name. Salakia, even change our last name. So basically, these people not having an understanding, and they being the one to teach us, we would have a lot of people within Israel that would have already had a number done upon them that they do not know, they do not understand, and they won't consider. All right, like it says in the book of Isaiah. know, Isaiah chapter 1, 3 and verse 1, Salakio. It says, Salakio, no, that's 1 and verse 3. It says here, for the oxen know it his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel do not know, my people do not consider. Right? O sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers that are corrupters. They have forsaken the Lord Yahweh power. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel unto anger. They are gone away backward. Exactly so. That's them going away backward. You know, they had not known, the way of righteousness. Alright? Because the oppressors basically taught them. Like Yahweh say, ye are of your father the devil, and the work of your father ye will do. That's all they know to do. Error. Because they were taught only to know and to learn error. Alright? Get one more precept. Before I gotta read the meaning of the word call. Right? Get about 2 more precepts. Salakia. Hosea 4 and verse 6. These are basically basic precepts. Alright? It says, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. And who's the Lord people? Alright? The Israelites. Just read, the Israelites are the Lord's people. They are the ones that are distracted for the lack of knowledge. It says, because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Alright? Because what? Why will you not be no priest? Why it says that you will not be no priest to the Lord? It's because what? The priest's lips shall have wisdom and knowledge. Right? So if you would destroy for lack of knowledge, you cannot be a priest unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yoshai. You have to have that knowledge. And that knowledge comes from Yahweh Ba'ashem Yoshai. Not from the oppressors, not from these people that actually, teach lies. These platforms and these books, anything that is not of the Bible. Yes, we use other books, but that book is basically to support history and facts of what the scriptures are saying. I mean, for those of us who believe in the word of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yoshai, we don't need these books, but just for you, so we could teach you, show you the knowledge, show you the way. We make it plain upon the tables using these different platforms, I would say. Alright? It says, because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing that thou hast forgotten the law of the Lord Yahweh power. I will also forget thy children. Exactly. So just like how a lot of them, what they had basically said is that, hey, when they had seek to take Yahweh's life, they said, let his blood be upon us and our children. Alright? And that's foolishness. There's not having the fear of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yoshai. So hence, they turn on to the enemies. Alright? It says, verse 7, as their war increased, so they sinned against me. Therefore will I change their glory into shame. Right? Because it's a shameful state who our people are living with. You so-called blacks, Americans, and Latinos, there's nothing proud, of how people are living. I'm not talking about you who have, so-called escaped the matrix and living life as if everything is good. But those of you that basically, the nation of people I'm speaking about, the nation as a whole, you so-called blacks, Americans, and Latinos, the whole collective, that's what I'm talking about, alright? I get one more precept. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 5, I believe, chapter 5 and 20, alright? Here it says, woe unto them that call evil good and good evil. Because there's a lot of things, there's something where, you so-called blacks, Americans, and Latinos don't realize you're doing. Hey, this is not for the nations, this is unto the elect nation, Israel. Right? This is where this message is for. They they at times they take, you know, basically they yes, Salakio. Yeah, they basically take good for evil and evil for good. You know, the things that basically this world is come with, the carnal things, carnal matter, they hold it as something good. You know, they Israel own it. When it comes to good things, you know, Israel shun down upon it. Alright? It says, Salakio. Let me pause a little bit because reversing vehicle. Yep. So you know what I'm saying, you know, people basically take the good things for evil and the evil thing for good. Reading back Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 20, it says, woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Alright? Because they're bitter basically against the so-called the Hebrew Israelites. Right, which is us. You know, we bringing out the board as it is, you know, clear. You know, this movement is just got get these people sore. Right? This movement got these people sore. Right? It says also, woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight. Yeah, and these people are prudent. Right? These people are prudent. They know basically they're wise to do these things, and then these things are not of the Lord, is not benefit. They don't realize that hey, they're speaking and giving sacrifices of fools. You know, and the word fool, when you check it, go back into those are foolish, the unlearned. Alright? Now, on the word cult, it says in 1610, it says worship, homage. It sent now obsolete, right? 1970. Yes, in 1970, a particular form of system of worship. It says from French, cult, right? 17th century from Latin cultus, right? It says care, labor, cultivate, culture. So these are the words you could find, you know, the word culting, right? It says a care or a labor. And what is the care? We have a care to the truth. Alright? Our labor, we labor within this truth. We do the works of Yahweh Shemir Shai. We go out the highways and byways, week in, week out, we preach. You understand? We see videos, you know, for the elect, for your sake that you could learn, you know, starting from the elders and the apostles and down, which are my teacher. And that's the way how I learn. Alright? It says to cultivate. Alright? We cultivate. Alright? Because well, the Yahweh Shai had likened this work here onto a farmer. Alright? We do the work of farming. You see? Alright? It says culture. Alright? Worship, reverence, original, tended, cultivated, past participle color to tile. You know, so that's basically what this word is, a culture. It is a culture. All right, a lot of you would be subscribing to certain things, right? Like for instance the Africanized culture and these different things, and still call them a culture. But a lot of you subscribe to these things not having the knowledge of what you're in. All right, like for instance a lot of you Israelites, you so-called Negroes, saying hey, you know, y'all are in a culture, African culture. And it has nothing to do with you, but the Hamite. You know, you Spaniards, you know, the Spanish community say, you know, you're into Saturnalia, right? And that has nothing to do with you, but the original Spaniards, which had, you know, indoctrinated you with lies, right? But what? Like the scripture says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. You know. With that, let me get the word let's get that word culture. Let's get that word culture to see what it really is. And again, like I said, you know, the word was showing on to Jacob laws and statutes was unto Israel. You know, this was given unto Israel to what? To keep. You know, that's our culture, right? It says mid 15th century. It says the tilling of land, act of preparing the earth for crops. It says from Latin culture, cultivating, right? Agricultural, figurative care, culture, right? And honoring, right? From past participle stem of color to tend, guard, to tile, and to cultivate. Yeah, and that's exactly what we do. All right, and that's exactly what we do. We guard, we take the stand, and we defend this word, right? In truth, that is our culture, and that is the cult, right? So again, you know, those of you who taking this word for misunderstanding, you know, and what the Hebrew Israelites do, and I'm talking about GMS, but hey, you know, yeah, then again, there are those of they that actually, you know, adding to the word and bringing in traditions of men, you know, things of lies, things that are not true. You know, the scripture says, woe unto them, right? And get a couple precepts for close that one out. But I'm gonna read this again. This is Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 21. It says, woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight. All right. Well, let me get this. This is bear with me. Yeah. This is Romans chapter 8 and verse 5. It says, for they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, and they that are after the spirit, the things of the spirit. Right? So a lot of things, people that's come forward and, you know, bring basically, you know, on search or not too deep, but they come with these accusations that, hey, you know, the Israelites, they're basically a cult, they are black Hebrew Israelite movement. You know, these things are of not. These things are not of, you know, Yahweh Shemir Shai. You know, so that's basically what they come in the spirit of. You know, they are all about this flesh. A lot of people run off of the front of what people said and not, you know, they basically check these things out for themselves. You know, the scripture says, study to show thyself approved of Yahweh power. Alright? It says here, but they are after the spirit. So that you're reading back Romans chapter 8 and verse 5. It says, for they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the spirit, the things of the spirit. Right, verse 6, it says, for to be carnal minded is death, and to be spiritual minded is life and peace. Alright? That's life and peace. So you basically, you know, study, you know, these words, you know, you search out a matter, you learn for yourself. So what? Basically you're not running on under what a person said or what you hear say, because one of the things of following hearsay and not searching out a matter for yourself is that you could fall into the same consequence you know, of those that actually produce those foolishness, or to produce those foolish saying. You see? It says, verse 6, it says, for to be carnal minded is death. Right? The scripture says that he that wandereth out to the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. It says, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Alright, so to be spiritually minded, you know, this is life, and this is also peace. You know, because what? To have the wisdom and knowledge, you know, you have a clear mind. You know, you have the understanding. You know, it says, because the carnal minded is enmity against God. You see? So those that are carnal minded, they are against Yahweh power, they are against what we stand for, they are against the Hebrew Israelite, you know, and they are against the own, because there's a lot of our own people, Hebrew Israelites, that think they are, you know, Gentile, have a Gentile mindset, mean they call themselves American, you know, a Guyanese, a Bajan, a Trinidadian, you know, that subscribe to these things of the world. They are enmity against Yahweh power because they understand not. It says, for it is not subject to the laws of Yahweh power, neither indeed can be. So they that are in the flesh cannot please Yahweh power. And that's the problem right there. Because they basically enmity with Yahweh power and what we stand for. You know, so hey, you know, again, you know, the misunderstanding of the Hebrew Israelite cult, or saying the Hebrew Israelite is a cult, right? It's a damn lie. Alright? It's a lie on the level of not understanding what the word culture is. You know, in other words, to say to demonize. You know, but however, saying the Hebrew Israelite is a cult, which is a culture, something that, you know, we tile in, you know, of a worship, that's what we do. Alright? And it is given of Yahweh Bashim Yeshai. Note that Yahweh power have never give religion. You know, he have given the Hebrew Israelite a cult, a culture. Alright, and that's what we tile in, and that's the covenant that we're supposed to continue. Anyway, with that, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Makakodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and salutations to you brothers who's pushing the truth in the four corners, the highways and byways. Alright, again, all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Makakodash. Hey, shalom. Until the next video. Shalom.